All right, folks, we are going to review the tickers you guys asked for. And we will start alphabetically. I'm going to break it up into two videos, about 45 to 49 each, I can't remember. And we'll run through as quickly as possible. But first, let's take a look as to what happened last week. That's the S&P. It felt really painful, but it wasn't a red week. In fact, it was a green week. We had some strength and we hit resistance like we said we thought we would, and we backtracked. Now, the fact that we closed above 430 was a miracle on Friday. It was very frustrating to see it happen. But it was somewhat forecastable if you were trading the day, intraday. So that's the look on the S&P. You see some progress and then a dip. Let's switch to a 1 week to give you a visual as to why it wasn't a bad week yet. But we're not out of the woods. That's the QQQ. They haven't even started falling if you look at it. And if we go to a daily chart there, you can see we are closer to a breakout than a breakdown. But that doesn't mean anything because we're headed down in lower lows and lower highs almost. That hasn't confirmed a lower low. So that's the battle. Will the NASDAQ also do a lower low? And if so, we will probably have a little bit more pain, slow pain. We have a weak spot still open in the charts below. And the IWM, forget about it. They're trying to not break apart. Months and months of consolidation. If we lose it, we're going for a ride. No evidence yet, but there's no evidence of risk appetite at all. Basket of 2,000 stocks are dead. The Dow, I can't remember what it looks like. Okay, here's the Dow. So these are lines from last week. We bounced, and I said, what if we're bouncing before we bounced, and we curl back down and trigger this head and shoulders? So the Dow hasn't even broken down, just like the NASDAQ. They could still have 3 to 8% of downside. Depends on what happens above us. So the battle is still going on. It is not a bearish market yet, but we have had bearish feelings. Nothing is going right in the headlines. Everything is going by way of the bears. If you want to sell the stock market, you have a million reasons to do it. Not one person out there is telling you buy stocks. So we'll see what happens. All right, let's jump into the first ticker. It is Apple. It happens to be the king of stocks. This thing here says, this red W says that it could have some downside, maybe 0.8 drop. If that fails, there's another 1 to 2.5%. It will find support below 175. It becomes interesting. Anything in the 160s is definitely interesting. This company is on rails. If retail spending falls apart, then that's a different story, but there's no evidence of that yet. Okay. And the second ticker is ABBV, and this is just alphabetical. If you want more details on Apple, I guess we can drill down to a different time frame. You can see that we have immediate sellers above 181 from here on up. But it's a trigger. If they clear that last failure from Thursday, they can jump higher. Also, we do have some buyers, but they're not there until 176 or lower inside this big candle here. So 176, there's a little bit of weakness in the volume there. Good buyers below, at or below 174. ABBV. I need to zoom back out to see what's going on with this one. This looks like it's stuck inside of a range. It has strong buyers, anything below 144, and very strong sellers, anything above 153. That's the big picture. Earnings in 12 days. Oh, about Apple, Netflix, and Tesla report earnings this week, and they usually influence the whole mega cap sector. So the 10 big stocks will move with them. So this is the range of ABBV. The buyer you can see in that tail right there. So anything extending into 145, there's proven buyers. And, if you break apart from 150.4, you could end up at 153. Huge selling there. Supply, overhead supply. It looks like they would have relief after 155. So they're going to struggle between 153 and 55 as long as they hold this support. Airbnb. So I have, what's going on here? Why is the ticker not showing up? There we go. Airbnb, a lot of headlines on Airbnb. Changes, company sweeping changes. So that concerns me a little bit. It's starting to look like a head and shoulders here. So these buyers are strong, but if you lose 122, I think you go for a ride. Lower, maybe to 105. So there's risk. There's the need of bounce or lose 20 bucks. Be careful being long Airbnb too blindly. A lot of sellers above. 17 days until the earnings. So that's the immediate story. Sellers at 133 and more and higher. If you clear 141, maybe you can clear this. But definitely you need to hold, and you're at risk of losing $12 to $18 pretty quickly if you lose 121-ish. I don't know this. Okay, so this is a stock that dropped from point A to point B, and it's consolidating, trying to recover in an ascending channel. It looks orderly. If it were to repeat itself, it's going to go higher. So if we say from here to here, this is what it looked like. This is what it looked like. What if it looks like it again? Sellers into 175. Anything above 173, I think, will be sold hard. If by some miracle you get a rally, I would exit if you're a trader. It looks like they have buyers, but you don't want to lose 152.5 because then you don't know how low they go. This was a massive rally. They'll give it back. So maybe you should consider that they have curled. So they had an incredible rally. They topped. Lower highs are happening. Lower lows are happening. So like I said here, they're going to bounce and fail. But how about if this was a top and they're going to lose this one and come and set a lower low? A low, lower low, lower high. What if they come back down and set a lower low? It is conceivable. So don't be too married to it. Trading wise, comments. I don't know the company very well, whatever it was. ACMR. I don't know what that is. Pretty crazy P&L, it looks like, up and down on the quarterlies. So some weird stuff happened. What, sales mix change or whatever, sales timing. Engages in development, manufacture, sale a single wafer. Okay, tech. Pretty good. Oh, all right. I guess we need to zoom out. There we go. Okay, so now the story changes. Look at this massive top that they lost. They couldn't recover it, and now they're back into it. So you do have higher lows and an unbelievable pivot zone. So if by some miracle they take out 21, maybe they get to 26, but oh boy, is it going to be tough. So if I were you, I would just trade the range that is tilted up. There's an ascending channel. Pretty wide though. Anywhere between where it's at and 17.5, there should be buyers, and see if they can make a higher high. But you should doubt the force. Don't underestimate the amount of force it needs to take out these two candles at 21, just under 21. It's not going to be easy. Adobe, bearish setup into a prior fail. Target 1 met. Target 2 could be 532. It would be impressive. It would be a decent entry down there. So strong stock. Don't chase it into a prior fail. The buyers should show up within $10, either here or within $10. We'll see what happens. Okay, something went on here. Don't know what it is. I'll move it forward. See that right there? So if it comes down to 532, you should start asking questions. It might be a good time to go long. A lot of people in the room love that stock. For me, it's scary. Look at it. It looks like the S&P. Triggering a head and shoulder. Target will be down 34 to 30 to 30. And they can still avoid it. They are trying to. See, this breached it. And then they tried to recover the neckline. If you can't see it, I'm not a stickler, about a neckline being perfect when it's tilted. Oh yeah, they breached the neckline. It doesn't matter to me as long as they don't breach the levels, and they did. So this breakdown happened completely as forecast almost, and they're trying to recover the neckline. They still can save it. So this week they need to be above 42, otherwise they might drift to 32. So this is my thought, short term, regardless of fundamentals. Okay, the P&L is kind of crazy, but a lot of people love the stock. So I'm going to put it on my watch list just because I'm curious. AI. I wouldn't touch this company for myself. It's at my target and it can't get off it. So consider anything above 28 a struggle. This thing needs a headline. Look at this P&L. This is pretty hideous. I mean, Palantir was heavy spend, but at least the sales were growing. And anyway, the P&L did not look like this. That is a crazy looking P&L. Your expenses, your losses are growing faster than your sales. This guy is trying to sell the company, Mr. Siebel. He got lucky in the 90s, I think. He sold his Siebel company to his former employer. I don't know if he's going to be able to do the same. I wouldn't be adding, and I would be strategically trading it. They need to hold the floor. Otherwise, I think if they lose this one, they end up in the 20, maybe 18, 19. Heavy sellers at 27. I think they start selling at 26. You take out 27, you could get to 34. I would use spikes to get out. That's my ticket on this one. Akamai. Let me zoom out. I can't remember. Whoa, that's a pretty weird looking chart. What the hell is home? What? Look at this. Giant gap down. Giant gap up into the gap. A complete mess. And the P&L is stable. This is what puzzles me. Sometimes stocks are so stable in their income and performance financially, and then the stocks are crazy, like Pepsi, for example. Okay, it's a bit of a mystery, to be honest. So we need to get in short term and get some clues. It's got a decent base, short term, anything below 105, and I think sellers into 109. So if you get a run into 109, I would scalp. If I'm a trader, I would want to see them get to 109.50. That's the case, they get to 12. So huge sellers, but every hurdle is an opportunity if they take it out. Albemarle. One day I'll know how to pronounce that thing. Seller. If you approach 178, exit. Unless you're courageous, then stay in it, because if they take it out, they get to 190. But that's an emphatic seller right there. Decent buyer below. So you have support below, sellers above, and no volume in between. I'm surprised of these candles. There's no volume in between. So they could do it. They just need the trigger. They need the oomph. Oh, look at that. We have lines. Wow. So I think whenever we did this last, I drew this based on this. And I put it here. And maybe that's what's happening here. See, boom, boom. They're here now. So watch out. They could be at 141 if they don't take out this huge pivot around 180. Sweeping comments. Amazon will move with Netflix next week. Netflix reports earnings with Tesla. Super strong support short term through 125, maybe 123, and opportunity is above 134. If you take out 134, I'm going to put an alert. I'm going to say progress trigger question mark. I'll tell you why question mark. If you look left, good morning. If you look left, they're looking like they would want to sell it. But if this is taken out, I think they get to here. Wonder what this Fibonacci here. I have too many lines. Let's get it out. Let's see here. Lower, they did this almost exactly. Now, they're trying to avoid this. How? Just stay above the neckline. Don't go below 125 again. And the opportunity would be something like this. Right here, that's a trigger. I should call it resistance now. And trigger potential. Not so big. Maybe not so small. And how much of upside? Conservatively, this much. This is my own vision. Technically, the upside is $11, so 22. You can see where 22 is above here. But every time I do this, I'm almost always right. So I would start booking above 141 as a trade, not an investment. ANET. Wow. Could it be that this thing also played out? Not sure what that is. Oh, we traded ANET before. This yellow thing we have on there. See how history repeats itself? Sure did. Wow. This, we copied and pasted here. What? Wow. Look at it. It's like we painted it on. That is amazing. So according to this, there should be a drop coming. So be careful. Unless they take out 199. You take out 199, you're getting to 212. Otherwise, buy the dip. And I'm going to put an alert here. Following yellow path, buy the dip. Those are my comments. I don't care if they're misspelled. All right, somebody's telling me to check on the daily chart on Amazon. What am I checking for? They covered the gap almost and then fell into support. So as long as they hold 128, 129, 127 and a half, that's my same comment. This level matters. Okay. We did ANET, APL, Apollo. So Apollo, this is a ladybug. No, a ladybug. Yeah, it is a ladybug. What is a ladybug? It's a an inverse cup and handle. You see the little hump here and then a smaller hump. If they lose this, which is 86, they might end up at 83. I would not want to be long without immediate stops. This thing here needs to hold, risk, hold, or 82. I bet you I eyeballed it pretty correctly. Yep. They basically would seek this number right here. You see high volume area? There's no volume here. So if they lose this last bounce from October, they're going to go straight down. Stop at 84. I'll put a support zone right there. And end up at 83, 82. At which point Apollo would be a catch of the knife. Look at that P&L though. Amazing. What? What? Yeah, I don't trust this. Anytime a company goes from 3 billion to 12 billion, it reminds me of that other company that paid $17 in dividends, Zoom something. No, the Israeli logistics company. Can't remember the name now. Zim. Yes, thank you. Zim. Okay, ARKK. Somebody wanted to go along this week. I discussed it with them. I said, don't forget that Tesla is 10% of it. So this might have some action this week. What happens to Tesla earnings reaction may be the driving factor here. So if you lose 37.50, you should be at 35.50, if not lower. This also, one could argue that this head and shoulders is trying to play out $7.80. This is just basically halfway of the drop. So they would target 34.50 easy. I will put an alert down there. Go long. Meanwhile, it is a long for a trader. So if I trade markets, I can go long with an immediate stop. So immediate stop, because if they lose this level, you don't know how low they go. And then you have sellers up here. Resistance zone. I don't think we have it in us that we're going to break out of this. So to be honest, you drop from one point to another, you consolidate. If you lose the consolidation, they're tired. They're just going to have to come back down a little bit more. ASML, nice higher low, higher highs. Oh, look at that. We called it correctly. So this one was here. Whoop, why do we have two of them? This one was here. Played out perfectly, right? I'm going to move it out of the way so that we know it's not what's coming. It's already played out. But guess what? If they don't get back above 640, they could be headed down to 540 in a series of events. Be careful if you're long. Vulnerable, still vulnerable. Yeah, those are my comments. Those are the same arrows. They still stand, still vulnerable. You need to be above 650 to not be vulnerable. Be careful. Shorter term, 582 support. Sellers above 624. 582, 624. Broadcom, big ticket stock. I would not be long up here for Broadcom. Good price action. You can chase the breakout, but I'm not that guy. This is what I call THTH. It's too hot to chase and too hot to short. But if somebody bought puts or put spread or sold the call spread or got out of their longs, kudos. That's what I would do. You do have buyers, ouch, at 850, buyers at 805, and buyers at 760, 750. Hopefully you wrote down those numbers. Lose that. Quick trip to 650. How? There's no volume. Weak area. Weak. It's not been traded. There's no buyer waiting to jump in. There's no proven buyer until 650. So it's definitely shortable from a charts perspective. Look at the PNL. It's definitely not shortable. So be careful how you fight this guy. Boeing, I wouldn't touch it. It's a must hold or another trip lower. Look how violent this stock is. I used to trade it all the time. I haven't traded in probably over 2 years, over a year. Look at this. And then look at this. This here is something bizarre. Look back. You don't see these. This was like systemic divestiture by something. You don't see this kind of price action often enough. That is weird. Totally weird. So there's something else at play here. I would avoid it. I don't know what it is. Maybe this is playing out. This played out, that hump. That's the hump. And then if they confirm the breach. So let me rephrase. If Boeing doesn't come back to like 204, it's probably going to 165. That's probably the best way I'm saying it. If it doesn't go back to 204 and hold, it's probably going to 165. And trade that as however you want. Booking.com. Very tricky chart to trade with options. Be careful. It is manipulated. The people that control it, it's a small group of entities that control the price action. That's my assessment. I can't prove any of this. If it doesn't go back to 30.50 or 30.40, it's probably going to be at 28.50. So it too, like Boeing, needs a bounce. It cannot get to 29.25. So if they lose the recent low from the last couple of weeks, it's probably going to come down to here, which is, we traded it and it was horrendous, right? We won with it big time, but it was horrendous. They lost this and they might want 200 points out of it, 180. So I'm going to put an alert here to start looking and an alert here to go long. And if they want to come back to here, I also want to see it. Rallies, I think, will be sold. Earnings in 18 days. Bitcoin, I'm long. I'm staying long. What am I long? I'm long Ethereum, ETH, and I'm long Solana. From like cheap, don't buy it now. It's not performed well recently, but it has been, I got in the 10s and in 12s. I just added recently Ripple, XRP. So I think Bitcoin is doing its thing, and apparently it's rallying with the Israel-Palestine struggle, which is pretty bizarre. They say that's how more demand comes on crypto in those times. I don't understand that, but let's assume it's correct. Regardless, it has acted a little bit better than the market to a degree, and it's not showing a lot of fear. So there's risk appetite still there. I wouldn't stop out. Now, if it loses 2650, it might end up in a 25,900 down here somewhere. I think what's going on here is an ascending channel of higher lows and higher highs, and not a lot of people are talking about it. And it could be up in the 35s and low 42s within the next 6 months. So that's why I'm holding. I will get out above 40. If not, it's a speculative bet for me. BTU, look at that. It's probably tracing our lines. This one, Peabody, has a lot of scar tissue, as I call it, above 27.5, where it's at basically, because look left and there was a mountain of action and they're going into it. That's why I put the box of sellers. Now, the same is also correct down here. A lot of buyers below 23, definitely below 21. So yes, it has some room to fall, but it will find buyers. That's why I put the green thing. If it falls, they have the opportunity to catch it and remount the effort. The P&L is okay. A little unclear why that happens. And earnings in 18 days. Be careful. Blackstone, I believe they reported earnings, and woo boy, do they need a bounce. They look like they are consolidating, and so far, with the shock of a headline, they still didn't lose the recent low at 101-ish, and they have backup support through 99. So if I'm long, I'm okay, even if it dips a little bit. Technically, I'm not okay, because they're selling rallies. Hopefully, we see it go to 107. I have to warn you that it rallied a lot based on headlines. Like, I think it got added to an ETF or something. Maybe it's weak because of it. A lot of buying got pulled forward. So be careful. If it doesn't break above 106, I'd be concerned. If I'm long, I'd probably get out at 106 as a trader, because it's probably going to curl back down. So it has the risk of doing this. Whoops, my finger. And if it does here one more time and it loses it, it has this opportunity. This is available, not a forecast. So let's say beware. Be aware of this potential. Okay. Now take that out. You get to 112. Problem solved. CRM earnings in the month. I don't like this shape. I would have liked it if they held 213. Now 213 is above, and it's a mess. Look at that volume profile above them. So I think it's easier. It's just as easy to be at 192. Actually, it's probably easier to be at 192 than 216. I don't know. That's probably helpful to the traders. Investors, you believe in what you believe. This was the downside. They did that. Support, no way. That's a bunch of sellers up there. Seller zone. The seller zone is lower, actually. I bet you there's resistance there too. Support that needs to hold is down here. If you lose that, you end up lower. Actually, let's take this out. Hey, Luis. Luis is IC. Wow, it survived everything. So this iron condor shows the range. It's a wide range. So they have support, and if they lose it, they have backup support, and they have resistance scattered everywhere above us. So I don't know what's going to happen with it. Maybe credit spreads would work with it. CROX, what the heck, this company. The stock, I had a credit put spread on it, and I closed it on this rally, one of these rallies, and thank goodness, because this piece of crap is just not tradable. The P&L is beautiful, but the price action on the shoes, what? It's on crack. They are selling rallies, so assume they continue until they stop. So like this, slightly lower lows maybe. Let's look left. There's a lot of support scattered inside this zone. Unfortunately, it extends to 72. So if I'm stuck in a credit put spread, if you are, roll it, because you will find a spot where they find footing and then bounce. Unfortunately, they have earnings in 4 days. So I don't know what they're going to do on earnings. The reaction to earnings is completely arbitrary, folks. If you don't believe that, I can prove it to you mathematically. But here's the thing. If I'm put shares from selling puts, I would keep them because the P&L is solid, and I think they will bottom and bounce really hard. It's one of those stocks that if you get buried in, you have the chance of getting unburied quickly or relatively quickly. This last earning report was a disaster reaction, not the report, the reaction. The one before it, disaster. The one before it, pop and drop, so let's call it neutral. The one before it, pop and pop. So we have 2 downs, 1 neutral, and 2 ups. That's 50%, literally. So flip a coin for that guy. Cisco, let's look at the daily. This is a dinosaur. It survived the dot-com bubble. Has a lot of buyers scattered from here to 50. So gap above, gap here. You can drive a bus through all of this. What's going on here? And you have 52.50 that needs to hold. If you lose it, you're at 51 or 50.5, where I would get long. Super solid support below 51. However you get there. I'll put an alert. Oh, now I have 2 alerts. That's too many alerts. Okay, so yes, that's why I clicked on it. Super solid support below 48. Not that we're going there anytime soon. And then you have resistance scattered inside this top hat. Zoom in. Easy trip to 53. Harder trip below 52.5. So it's easy to get to here. I don't think it's easy to lose that. We'll see. Earnings in 31 days. DR Horton. I wouldn't touch anything real estate. I've been saying this for a long time, and I was wrong for a long time. I'm finally vindicated. And it was like, I cannot understand how the real estate market is still taking off like stocks when there's no one that could afford anything anymore. So any rallies, I would get out until you hit a floor, and we're nowhere near a floor. I wouldn't touch it. Any rallies, for me, is exit, because we're probably going to end up at 94. I wouldn't short it for that reason, but I would definitely avoid it. VRI, restaurant chain that's going down like this. So retail, what is going on? Huge rally, huge drop, P&L okay. So it's not fundamentally driven. Below here, a mess of buyers. It extends through 120 and 115. So use rallies to get out of problem areas, problem trades. But if you're investing and you just got long, you're not bad. There's this guy here. What is this guy? And so that's support and backup support. And now you have similar resistance. So what's that guy? So ping pong inside this range or even this range. Yep. Devon. Hey, Rich. Okay. So sellers into 50. I think it's going to be difficult to take out 50 without a dip first to come back and draw an inverse head and shoulders that gets it up there. So if you're lucky as a bull, if it dips and cover whatever gap they've just placed, to come back and do this, maybe that's your path. That is if you're lucky. You do have support below. Headlines in 23 days. That wasn't you? Okay. And of course, if by some miracle it goes above 54.4, it's gone. 60s. But that's pretty shocking result. So this one is back into, oh, that's the Dixie. 1 second. Choking over here. That's the dollar strength. So the dollar strengthened when the Federal Reserve acts like it's acting. I don't know why it's strengthening of late. Is war good for the dollar? I'm not sure. So it's going into a prior sales. This was a prior failure, big time. I wouldn't get long here. In fact, I would try to short it. Now, I did try to short the UUP recently, bought some puts and lost some money on them. They're still open, but they were pennies. Now they're less than pennies. I will try it again. So if not here, I will try it again higher. This is a strong chart. This might be the first weakness. If they don't get back above 107, then maybe they topped and they curl back down. So maybe I'll add that to my watch list to remind me. eBay, avoid. I used to buy stuff on eBay all the time, and now I bought maybe two things this year from eBay. One thing I regret, I bought a mic and I don't know where to return it. It's just a nightmare. Amazon, I totally know. Anyway, losing 42.50 was devastating. They need to get back to 43 or 43.50. Otherwise, I think they bleed down to 40. They lost the neckline, bunch of support, resistance above. So a lot of sellers up here. So in fact, I'm going to change that to say a lot of sellers. Supply. That's resistance. So if they don't recover, they're going to bleed lower. So this might, any bounce, they're going to hit a wall and then try to bounce and then finish the job. Wait, earnings, 23 days. Whoo-wee. Yeah, not for me. This is an exit stop for me. Volume at 1260, huge. So no volume here where they're at. So it's easy to get to here. It's going to be harder to get through here. That's my estimate. Don't know what that is. Oil company. Why are these P&Ls like that? Several companies today. Not for me. It's just not for me. Maybe when it comes back down to 1180. EFG. What is this? Let that be a top for you. You have sellers and buyers. You're stuck in the middle. You might have a buyer at 85.50 right here. Nothing much to say. I'm out of everything end phase. I'm done with this sucker. Made money. It was good money, but holy moly, was it tougher than it needed to be. So it's doing what I'm thinking it's doing. This earnings are coming soon. I booked all my profits in end phase. I had the one left over. Credit put spread. It's out. We're done. Bye-bye. See you later. I'm done. When it rallies and crashes again, maybe I'll do it again. But for now, I'm done with it. It's too sensitive to every headline under the sun. See what I did there? Under the sun, end phase. Oh my gosh. That's like award-winning. The joke. Like over the top. Like amazing. Okay, next stop. All right. So we finally got this arrow perfectly. Look at that. Okay, late, but did we get it? And we got this one too. So they say, why do you put arrows in both ways? Because those are two possible paths. And guess what? They did both. They went, did the first one, and went, did the second one. I'm trying to I am, Raghu. I am. Raghu and I are in a competition of dad jokes. He's leading by a mile. I'm just trying to keep up with you, man. Okay. So this guy, I think, would be exciting above 14. Who is this? ET. Above 14, if they can beat those two candles, it might be exciting. It might be enough to take this out. And then what? There's nothing here. So buy the dip if it comes for the opportunities to rip through it that way. Right? Yeah. So buy the dip for the opportunity to do this. And then what happens next? Who the excitement would be. This is a pretty important trigger. I'll put it there. Up. That's a possible path. There is support here inside the circle. and below. So I'm going to put an alert here. I would even create an alert. Yeah. Why not? It looks interesting down here if it falls down there. Earnings in 17 days, so be careful. All right, what is this? Oh, Etsy. Ugh, heartbreaker. One more time, testing the floor. We'll see what happens. I am long. Last week, we had an opportunity to get out for a small loss. Some people did. I said I rolled mine, and I got credit for rolling, so now I have more credit. I'm still underwater, so we'll see what happens this week. We need a miracle. It can come. It is coiled descending wedge, but it's definitely, Wolfwave is saying lower is possible. So it will need help from the market. If you lose the recent support, it's going into the mid-50s. But look at the volume profile. That's a crazy stuff right there. I need it to above 65, and it can get to 72, 73 pretty fast. But that is a big if. It's not getting the momentum. A lot of sellers where it's at. So we'll see what happens. Fingers crossed, we need a bit of luck with Etsy. FLO, Flowers Foods. Don't know what that is. Bakery products. Okay, so the market doesn't like it. Now this descending wedge says it can snap back to 24. Well, I don't know if I trust it. Support is spread from here to 18. So do with it what you want. It's a falling machete. This is not a falling machete. Look how high this thing is. The amount of downside available for Google stock is insane. So interesting zone, anything below 129 and anything below that would be interesting. What the heck is that? That's the May pop. That's the NVIDIA pop. The only good thing about it is that it's been so well consolidated that I don't think this is a real gap. It's a visible gap. It is a weakness in the profile, but it's not a very weak gap. And it has backup high point of volume to hold it around 121. What am I saying? Buy the dip just like that. That's it. So if you take a ghost pattern from here to here, you might get a dip. I would buy it. Okay, that's to show you the visual. And if you drill down, you can see how they're buying the dip even on a smaller channel. See that? Let's see. Let's see what happens. It's a great company. Groupon. Oh my God. This thing is a wild ride. I don't like their P&L. 14 looks like a top for me. It's not a place that I would engage. If anything, if it dips back below 11, then you could try to repeat this and hope that 9.5 holds. Otherwise, you end up at 8. Goldman Sachs. Sellers at 315 to 317. Take that out, you get the 322. Again, repeat sellers. There's a bit of weakness here in the volume profile, so it might be easy to pop through these and get up to here. I think they report earnings Monday or Tuesday. So we'll see what happens. The JPM hold its lunch? It did. Okay, so that's a good bit of news. Bank of America also reports on Monday or Tuesday. Buyers through 303, lose 303, you're going to 292 or lower. So they're pricing this out in a funny way. They need to hold the recent low, otherwise they finish this. Sell rallies is my opinion. Bunch of sellers into 325. IBM, finally, this stinker is acting like it should. It gave me target 1 and then said, no, just kidding. And now it's giving me target 2. It gave me target 1 again. Having lost 139 puts $9 in danger. Although I see that it's probably overkill. Well, earnings in 10 days, you never know what they say. This company has been an underachiever for decades, and for some reason, it gets all the benefit of the doubt on Wall Street. I don't understand it. It's like they're in their pockets or something. It's like Ferrari and Formula One. Everybody cheats for it. So I'm going to put a line. Look at this pivotal zone they just lost. needs to recover. Else, I don't know, 133. So if they don't pop above here and hold, I think they bleed lower. And that's an area of interest. I'll put an alert. Even I will sell a put spread there. I'll have to see how their P&L is shaking out. In mode. Designs, develops, manufactures, and markets minimally invasive aesthetic medical products. Okay. Is that like Botox or something? Yikes. Yeah. Study the company. I don't know. This might not be a representative of the future. What is this? If you lose this one, there's nothing else there. No, I guess there is, but yikes. Yeah, it's a scary proposition. If you're catching the falling knife, I would put a tight stop. Like, know how much pain you're willing to take. What is a tight stop? You don't have to mechanically put a stop. If you invested $1,000, let's say I pick, I'm going to buy $2,000 worth of shares or calls or whatever. I immediately will turn around and say to myself, I will not allow myself to lose more than X. And that X is different. Some people it's 500 on 2,000. Other people it's 600, 700. So this way you'll have a small loser or a decent win. Versus like, oh, Nick, I'm down 90%. What should I do? Nothing now. Okay, Lamb. Good company. Good reputation. Not a good spot to start longs here. Resistance, and they're respecting it. Support is scattered from here to 610. Take your pick. I think the weakness goes away at 632. So if I were to add a line here, I would say right here, there's support. You can argue that the support starts at 639. So I can raise this one a little bit. Split the difference, 637. Cool. Now, if you take this out, 660, whoa, let's say it, 667, you could get the 90 or 700. Otherwise, you're coming down to here. Why? They lost the neckline and they're trying to recover it. If they don't recover it, if they don't get above the orange, they're probably going to drift lower. And if the market hiccups, they probably end up there. This is a good company, so it won't do it alone. Although, look at the quarterly sales. And that's 5 quarters, so it's not seasonal thing. Keep an eye on sales. I don't know what this is, but anyway. Main Street Capital, yeah, definitely not for me. You have strong buyers and strong sellers. Anything below 39, buyer, buyer, buyer. Woo, 39. Look at that. Boink. And so you have sellers at 40.6. Easy peasy. Anything above 40.5, sellers, 39 buyers. Ping pong until one side breaks. Mattel. So the Barbie fad is over. Yeah, I wouldn't touch this even if you lent me money and say, go lose this. I wouldn't do that. It could be at 19 or 18.50. I think it's easier to get to 19 than 21.50. How about that? So there could be a bounce. I would get rid of it on the bounce. And if it doesn't bounce, it's going down fast. Meta, I believe the harmonic targets are within reach. The pivotal targets are within reach. So it's a better long than a short here via credit spreads. This leaves room. This fight line might get tested again, 308 or lower. So this was the trade setup from sometime last time we spoke about it. I said I would stop out of here and this would be the target profit. It over-delivered. And it is an ascending channel on a longer time frame. And, they have 3 billion active users, so they can sell gum and still make good money. So I wouldn't short it. I'd be buying dips, and anything below 308 is a lot of volume. Whoa. So I need to lower my volume. See, volume just jumped 100%. Not understanding how that happens, but anyway, it is. All right, so we do have that, and it's a buy the dip mode. It could be at 308 or 304 with the market, but all by itself, 308 or lower, there should be buyers. So I can hold a long or buy the dip. This one, I wouldn't do any such thing of that. If it doesn't hold here, it's going to 450. So rallies, they would need to breach 550 in order to get to 6. Okay, so this is the first video. I'm going to go stop it and start the second one.